Welcome to episode 1. Traumatic events do not always equal trauma. Trauma, in literal terms, means wound. In the context of mental health, much of the literature tells us that trauma is considered to be severe harm to the psyche caused by crises, disaster, which can cause crises, or traumatic or stressful events. These terms are used interchangeably. Many will use this terminology, but in reality, the event itself is not traumatic. The event has the capability to cause trauma. It starts with a perceived, potentially trauma-causing event that initiates the stress response. The stressfulness of the event is perceived because what makes an event a stressful one is determined by the lens through which the individual views the stressor. What stresses one person may not stress the next. The individual's lens or filter is influenced by their core beliefs and values that are built through their social and personal experiences. But this will be covered in another video. The stress is triggered by recognition. A thought. For some, a thought so fast it may not even be a conscious thought, triggered by a situational connection from a past experience and follows a pre-programmed pathway to the amygdala, where emotions are processed, such as fear related to an event, which in turn triggers the hormonal fight or flight sympathetic stress response. It is how the individual interprets or reacts to the events that determines how the body responds to the stress, if the stress becomes traumatic stress or not, or if it actually causes trauma. Most people will not experience trauma or symptoms will self-resolve. For those that do, many early traumatic stress responses may represent attempts at self-healing as much as symptoms of an emerging stress disorder. Ultimately, it is what we think, feel, and believe about the event that leads to trauma or not, and can prevent the body from returning to allostasis or balance, prolonging the individual's stress response. First responder stress, trauma, and social constructivism. A continuing story of how paramedics perceive stressful events and how to change that perception by changing how you know, which ultimately can prevent stress injury. This series is a accumulation of my postgraduate studies, beginning with my Master's of Adult Education, where my focus was critical thinking and transformational learning and their role in resiliency, and my Doctor of Education in Community Care and Counselling, Traumatology studies, where I'm continuing my focus on transformational learning and the intertwining of social constructivism and personal identity, and how one's worldview can protect oneself from stress reactions and potentially many other mental health issues. I am David Wolff.